My 16 Y.O stepdaughter falsely accused me of a felony after I caught her with an adult man. Hi, I'm Mason, 41, and 2 years ago, the teenager I raised like a daughter tried to send me to prison because I busted her with drugs and an adult boyfriend. My wife believed her. So I burned everything down, legally. I met Alana when I was 30 and working logistics at a distribution center outside Detroit. She was 28, divorced, and raising a little girl named Skylar, 5 years old, obsessed with horses and Disney princesses. We met at my cousin's wedding. I was standing by the bar. She was chasing spilled champagne off her kid's dress. We bonded over sarcasm and the fact that neither of us wanted to be there. Married 14 months later. Skylar was 6 when I taught her to ride a bike. 7 when I helped her build a volcano for the school's science fair. 9 when she broke her arm on the monkey bars and I carried her to the ER in my work boots and a neon vest. She called me Dad by 10. Her biological one had been gone since she was 3. We never did the legal adoption, never got around to it. But I was there for every parent-teacher conference, every spelling bee, every scraped knee and slammed door. I didn't just marry her mother. I showed up for her, every single day. The problem started slow. Nothing you'd call out loud. Alana always had this deep guilt over Skylar's dad bailing. She tried to make up for it by never telling her no. I'd bring up boundaries, rules, consequences. Alana would say, "She's just figuring herself out." I thought we'd balance each other out. I thought wrong. Skylar turned 16 and started pushing hard. Curfews ignored, grades slipping, new friends with that half-dead look you learn to recognize if you've ever worked third shift. And then Tate showed up. I came home early one Thursday, March 2023. Left work around 3:30. Grabbed Thai food, thinking I'd surprise Alana. Her book club wasn't until 6, so I expected the house to be empty. Pulled in, saw her car gone. Good. I'd have some peace and pad thai. I opened the front door and immediately smelled weed. Loud music thumping from the basement. Then voices. One was Skylar's. The other? Deep. Not a teenager. My stomach dropped. I walked down the stairs slow and quiet. As I got closer, the smell got stronger. Then I saw them, Skylar on the couch, mascara smudged, sitting way too close to a shirtless guy in his mid-20s. Tattoos, stubble, bare feet on my coffee table. Weed, grinder, papers, laid out like a dorm party. I snapped. Not loud. Not wild. Cold. Controlled. I told him he had 10 seconds to get out of my house before I removed him by force. He looked at me like he wasn't sure if I meant it, until I took one step forward. Then he bolted. No shoes. No dignity. Just fear. I turned back to Skylar. She was crying, trying to cover herself with a throw blanket she didn't need. "It's not what it looks like," she said. "We were just hanging out." I pointed at the weed. The guy. "You call that hanging out?" She glared at me. "You're not even my real dad." That one landed. 10 years of birthday parties, school pickups, sleepless nights during the flu. 10 years gone with one sentence. I didn't yell. I just told her we'd talk when her mom got home. I sat at the kitchen table, letting my pad thai go cold. Alana walked in half an hour later, smiling like nothing was wrong. Then Skylar came running up from the basement, tears already flowing, voice breaking. He grabbed me. After Tate left. He threatened me. Alana froze. Then she saw the bruises on Skylar's arm, where Tate had grabbed her in panic when I showed up. Purple fingerprints. Distinct. And then Skylar made a decision. "He touched me," she whispered, "in ways that weren't okay." Alana's face twisted into horror. She slapped me so hard my head turned. Called 911 right there. Told them her husband assaulted her daughter. Told them I was still in the house. I sat and waited for the cops. Then everything fell apart. The first officer on the scene was trying real hard not to look suspiciously at me. Like he already had a version of me in his head before he stepped out of the cruiser. He asked me to step outside, said it was standard procedure. The female officer stayed inside with Alana and Skylar. I told him what happened. The whole thing. How I came home early, smelled weed, went downstairs and found Skylar with a grown-ass man. How I kicked the guy out and never touched her. I pointed out the grinder and rolling papers still on the basement table. I told him the guy's name was Tate, mid-20s, full-sleeve tattoo, black Civic. The works. He wrote it down but didn't look convinced. You didn't touch her at all? No. Not once. She was already bruised before I got close. From Tate. I saw him grab her arm when they panicked. He asked if I had any way to prove it. That's when I remembered the camera. 3 years ago, we had a break-in scare and I installed a security camera in the basement. Wide angle. Motion activated. Sync to a cloud account I managed. There's footage, I said. Everything's recorded. His face changed. Just a bit. Hope, maybe. Something to verify the chaos. I pulled out my phone to show him, except I couldn't log in. Too many failed attempts. Locked. I tried to reset, but the confirmation email didn't come to my inbox. Then I remembered. Alana had taken over the shared family account 6 months earlier during our smart home renovation. The camera email account was hers now. Someone's already tried to log in, I told him. They might have triggered the lockout. He took that in without comment, just made a note. We'll need to take the hardware and request cloud access ourselves. Chain of custody, all that. Take whatever you need. I said. Just find the footage. They took my phone. They took the camera hub. Bagged it all up. And then came the part I'll never forget. The officer stepped out of the house, looked me straight in the eye, and said, Mr. Grant, given the minor statement and the visible injuries, we need you to come with us for questioning. I wasn't arrested. Not officially. But they put me in the back of a cruiser like I was. No cuffs, just silence. My neighbors stared as I was driven away. Alana didn't come outside. Skylar stood in the window and watched. I spent the night in a concrete holding cell. Fluorescent lights. Thin cot. No answers. No updates. At 7 a.m., they let me go. Pending investigation. They said. Footage under review. They warned me not to contact Alana or Skylar. Not to return to the house. I called my parents and crashed at their place, still in yesterday's clothes. The next day, a caseworker from Child Protective Services left a voicemail. Home visit scheduled for the following Thursday. Not for me, oh no. For Alana and Skylar. I wasn't even allowed near the house. Then the other shoe dropped. Wednesday morning, my supervisor pulled me into HR. We received a call, she said, avoiding my eyes. From someone alleging inappropriate conduct involving a minor in your home. No charges have been filed, I said. And there's footage. We're not making assumptions. But HR needs to place you on administrative leave. With pay. For now. The promotion I was up for, gone. 13 years of spotless work history. All of it paused. Maybe ruined. Because a kid didn't want to get grounded for bringing a drug-dealing adult into my home. I walked out with my desk plant and my pride packed in the same cardboard box. That night, Alana texted me. Not a phone call. A text. The locks have been changed. Your things are in the garage. Do not come near the house. You will be served tomorrow. And sure enough, I was served. Emergency protective order. Filed by Alana. Citing Skylar's allegations. 10 years of family. Burned down in one afternoon. And I hadn't even started fighting back yet. Emergency protective order hearing. Friday morning. Courthouse felt like a mugshot factory disguised as a government building. I showed up with a public legal aid attorney. First available warm body with a JD. Kid looked fresh out of law school. His hands shook when he flipped through my file. Alana was already there. Tailored blazer. Perfect hair. No eye contact. Skylar sat next to her in leggings and a hoodie. Fake crying into a Starbucks cup like this was her Oscar audition. Judge called it to order. Alana's attorney launched into her opening. Visible bruises. Allegations of inappropriate contact. The respondent presents a clear and present threat. All delivered in polished courtroom monotone. My guy stood up and started talking about the footage. The basement camera. How it would clear everything up. The judge cut him off. Do you have the footage with you today? No, Your Honor. It's being authenticated. Then I can't consider it. Just like that. Proof existed. But because it hadn't been fully logged and notarized and blessed by the magical timestamp fairy, it didn't matter yet. Judge looked at me like I was wallpaper. He asked Alana's lawyer about the bruises. About Skylar's statement. About my alleged behavior. My attorney tried to interrupt again. The judge raised a hand. You'll have your chance once the footage is available. For now, I have to rule on what's in front of me. Temporary order granted. Skylar and Alana got exclusive possession of the house. I was barred from coming within 300 feet. No contact. No exceptions. I was now legally a ghost in the house I paid for. The next Thursday, I showed up at the front door for the Child Protective Services visit. My lawyer came with me this time. Older guy. Sharp. No fear. He was exactly what I needed, because I was walking into enemy territory. Alana opened the door like I was the guy who'd broken her jaw instead of the guy who paid her car note for 10 years. She didn't say a word. Just stepped aside as the caseworker walked in. They asked to see the basement. I showed them the empty bracket on the wall where the camera used to be. Continuous loop? The worker asked. 30 days storage. Cloud upload. She nodded and jotted it down. Then she asked to speak to Skylar alone. Alana and I waited in the kitchen, not speaking. I looked at the sink. Still the same coffee mug I used every day. Still sitting there. Dirty. Familiar. Off limits. When Skylar finally came down the stairs, she stopped in the doorway and looked at me like I was something she scraped off her shoe. Then she said flatly, "I forgot about the camera." I didn't blink. "I know you did." That was the moment I knew. She hadn't planned this. Not really. She panicked. Lied to avoid trouble. Lied because she could. And once Alana bought it, once the cops showed up, she just kept lying because it was easier than stopping. That camera was the only reason I wasn't in a cell. That gap in the footage, that 20-second Wi-Fi buffer glitch, was the only thing keeping her story alive. But she had forgotten it was even there. When my lawyer and I left, he looked at me in the parking lot and said, "You want to go on offense now?" I nodded once. He smiled. "Then let's make it hurt." My lawyer, Brennan, mid-50s, looked like he wore the same steel gray suit to court and to sleep, spread a stack of legal pads across his desk like he was prepping a hit list. "First thing," he said, clicking his pen, "you never adopted Skylar. That helps." Helps? No custody complications. No child support. No legal parental rights to argue over. She's Alana's problem now. He turned the page. The house? Mine. Bought it 3 years before the marriage. Paid off during it, but deeds in my name. Premarital asset. Excellent. He started scribbling. "We're going to file 2 things," he said. "First, a counter-protective order. Second, a divorce petition." I blinked. "You think I should file for divorce already?" He looked up. "She slapped you across the face and accused you of molesting her daughter without a single question. Filed a restraining order. Changed the locks. Cost you your job and your reputation. Do you think you're not divorced?" Point taken. He tapped the legal pad. "We're filing our own order of protection. You're a victim of domestic battery. We have physical evidence of the slap. A witness. That's grounds." He paused. "And that camera footage? Even with the 20-second gap? It's gold. Shows Tate grabbing Skylar's arm. Shows you 4 feet away, never touching her. That's your entire defense, and it also exposes a false police report. But she's 16. I said. They're not gonna charge her. No, but we don't need them to. We just need a signed, notarized recantation from her. Filed with the police, child services, the school. Paper trail. We make it a condition of not pursuing civil charges against Alana." He looked at me over the tops of his glasses. "This isn't about revenge. It's about record-keeping. Permanent record." He laid out the civil plan, battery, the slap, defamation, the anonymous HR call traced to Alana's office, tortious interference with employment, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. Alana's leverage is the false accusation. Yours is documentation. You have footage, timestamps, digital trails. That's how you win. I nodded slowly, processing everything. It was a lot. But it felt like the first real breath I'd taken since the cops knocked on my door. "We file Monday?" "No," he said. "We file tomorrow." And we did. 2 weeks later, both protective orders, hers and mine, ended up on the same docket. Consolidated hearing. 1 courtroom. 1 judge. And that's when things started to tip. Because my lawyer had the footage. Authenticated. Timestamps aligned. Chain of custody airtight. We played the video in court. 3:44 p.m. Tate grabs Skylar hard. Fingers dig in. Bruises forming. I'm not even in the room yet. 3:45, Wi-Fi buffer freeze. Gap. 3 hours 45 minutes and 22 seconds, playback resumes. I'm 4 feet away, hands at my sides. Skylar on the couch. Not touched. Not threatened. Not harmed. I turned and walked upstairs. The judge watched it twice. Then looked at Skylar and asked flat out, "Would you like to correct your statement under oath?" She didn't answer. Just looked down and nodded. Alana's protective order? Denied. Mine? Granted. Temporary exclusive possession of the house. No contact provisions. She and Skylar had 72 hours to vacate. When the deputy knocked on her door 4 days later, I was standing behind him. Skylar's eyes met mine through the window. And for the first time, I saw fear. Not because I ever laid a hand on her. Because the lie had run out of runway. They had 2 hours to leave. That's what the deputy said when Alana opened the door, face blank, trying to act like this was some mistake that would be cleared up in a few phone calls. "It's my house," she said, voice sharp. "Not today, ma'am," the deputy replied. "The order grants Mr. Grant exclusive possession pending final hearing. You have 2 hours to gather essentials." Skylar came down the stairs halfway through the chaos, saw me on the sidewalk, saw the uniform, and froze. Her backpack was already slung over one shoulder. Guess she'd expected this. She didn't say anything. Just looked at me with this weird mix of guilt and resentment, like she wasn't sure who she was mad at, me or herself. Alana was yelling into her phone, trying to find a place to stay. Skylar was crying but trying to hide it. They were loading their lives into a beat-up Civic with a cracked windshield and a back seat full of old gym bags. The same car Tate used to park 2 houses down from ours. When they finally pulled away, Alana didn't look back. Skylar did. I unlocked my front door for the first time in a month. The smell hit me first. Old takeout, weed residue, something sour in the trash. The thermostat had been jacked up to 78, probably as a middle finger on the way out. I turned it down to 67, opened the windows, and dumped every piece of furniture from the basement into a pile for donation. Even the couch I bought 5 years ago, the one she cried on when she got dumped in 8th grade. Gone. Made myself a sandwich. Sat at the kitchen table like I hadn't been accused of a felony 2 weeks earlier. It was the best damn sandwich I've ever eaten. The divorce filing went out the next morning. Brennan stapled the footage to it, just like he'd stapled it to the counter-protection order. The slap, the false report, the camera gap, the whole thing. Everything sworn. Everything time-stamped. Everything undeniable. Alana lawyered up fast. Hired some pitbull from Birmingham who immediately filed a motion to exclude the footage. Chain of custody concerns, he claimed. Possible tampering during the buffer gap. My lawyer fought it. Won. But it cost us another 3 weeks of hearings and court filings. Then came her spousal support motion. Alana's been displaced, her attorney argued. She has no income. She's experiencing financial hardship due to Mr. Grant's actions. Brennan slid the HR logs across the table. Anonymous report made from her work IP. False. Defamatory. She got herself fired. The judge denied her request. Said the misconduct was hers. No spousal support. No emergency funds. No free ride. I locked down everything. Changed bank accounts. Froze joint credit cards. Switched the utilities. Filed notices to separate all financials. Even the Spotify account. And the 529 plan? Oh yeah? That college fund? Skylar had no legal claim to it. I was the account owner, opened it when she was 9. It had grown nicely, low 6 figures, thanks to consistent contributions and market gains. I didn't liquidate it. Didn't use it for revenge. I just changed the beneficiary. Not to cash out. To reassign. To someone who hadn't accused me of assault because I caught her breaking the rules. A few months later, when Elise told me she was pregnant, I already knew what name was going on that 529. Elise was someone I met in the middle of all the wreckage. Mutual friend. Accountant. Sharp. Kind in that quiet, steel-spined way. Our first date was coffee that turned into drinks that turned into midnight Thai food, and when she asked about my situation, I told her the truth. All of it. Didn't sugarcoat. Didn't minimize. Just laid it out, how Skylar had lied, How Alana had backed her without question, how I'd nearly gone to prison over a bruise and a panic lie, and how only one camera, with a 22-second glitch, had saved me from permanent ruin. She didn't blink. Just listened. Then she said, "You kept receipts. That's rare. That's smart." We started seeing each other more. Nothing fast. Nothing loud. Just steady. Clean. She made the silence feel like peace, not tension. The house didn't feel haunted when she was in it. 3 months after the divorce was finalized, she moved in. 6 months after that, she was pregnant. When I saw the sonogram, 8 weeks, peanut-sized, heartbeat like a war drum, I called my broker and officially transferred the 529. New beneficiary, baby Grant. Meanwhile, the civil case against Alana didn't go away. We filed 4 counts. Battery, the slap. Defamation, the call to my employer. Tortious interference, HR fallout and loss of promotion. Intentional infliction of emotional distress, the false allegation and everything that followed. Every count required depositions. Under oath. Video recorded. Court reporter. Permanent. Alana's deposition was brutal. She had to sit there and answer questions about why she never asked me what happened. About why she changed the locks. About why she filed for a protective order within 24 hours based on one accusation. My lawyer didn't raise his voice once. Just let the documentation do the work. Skylar's deposition? Worse. She was 17 at that point. Sitting across from my attorney. She looked like someone who hadn't slept since her last volleyball game. "Why did you tell your mom he assaulted you?" Silence. "Did he ever touch you?" "No." "Why did you say he did?" "I was scared. I was mad. I didn't think." "Did you know there was a camera?" She paused. "No. I forgot." The court reporter typed every word. The videographer captured every eye twitch, every pause, every moment of unraveling. My lawyer didn't want cash. He wanted it on record. Every lie. Signed. Filed. Stamped in ink. Undeniable. Skylar signed a notarized recantation 3 weeks later. In front of her attorney, my attorney, a state's attorney rep, and a notary. 3 pages. It went straight into the police file. Into the child services file. Into the school district file. Every institution that had seen the original accusation now had the truth in writing. She'd lied. And it was never going away. The fallout didn't stop. Once the recantation hit the school district, Skylar's world started to shrink fast. She'd already been suspended from the volleyball team when the footage came to light, drug violations, behavior concerns. But now there was a paper trail. A signed document proving she'd fabricated an assault accusation out of pure spite. Recruiters pulled back. Scholarship discussions vanished. The official line was, "Compliance review." But we all knew what that meant. High schools can survive a lot, but not a kid with a history of lies that could cost them lawsuits. Skylar tried to push through. Enrolled at a local community college. Tried to get aid. But the aid didn't cover books, and the registration lapsed when she couldn't make the final tuition gap. I knew all this not because she told me, but because the state sent me notifications. My name was still in some of the paperwork, residual from the 529 account before I reassigned it. Bureaucracy has a long memory. HR at my old job finally cleared me. After months of being on leave and denied a promotion I'd earned, they reinstated me, but the damage was done. The job was there. The trust wasn't. I came back, but the seat was colder. The jokes shorter. The meetings tighter. Then the IT director pulled me aside. "You said the anonymous complaint came from her office?" "Yeah." "Well, we can confirm which workstation it came from. We log internal IPs." They handed me a printout. Time-stamped, G-tagged, logged. Alana had used her company's system, on company time, to defame me. My lawyer added it to the civil case. Now it wasn't just word-of-mouth damage. It was employer resource misuse. Legal dynamite. 3 weeks later, Alana was terminated. Violation of company policy. Misuse of systems. Creating legal exposure. It wasn't a dramatic firing. No hallway shouting. No security escort. Just gone. Wiped from the staff directory overnight. LinkedIn updated quietly a week later. No job. No spousal support. No access to the house. Civil suit crawling forward with her name on every page. Tate, the adult boyfriend? He vanished. Police issued a bolo for contact with a minor and distribution. Never found him. Never mattered. The footage was enough to document his role. His presence. His hand on Skylar's arm. The source of the bruises. The crack in the story that split the whole thing open. By the time Elise was 7 months pregnant, I had a fully notarized, fully documented history of everything that happened, from the lie to the legal war. It wasn't about punishment anymore. It was about protection. Because if they ever came back? I didn't want to argue. I wanted to hand someone a file and say, "Here's the truth." 8 months after I watched Alana and Skylar pack their lives into a Civic and disappear, they came back. Not legally. Not through attorneys. Just showed up. It was a Saturday. Spring. Elise was inside folding onesies in alphabetical order or something else that made her nesting brain feel in control. I was on a ladder, clearing gunk from the gutters, trying not to think about the fact that in 7 weeks, I'd be somebody's dad again. From scratch this time. Phone buzzed. 5 missed calls from an unknown number. Then the doorbell camera pinged. I checked the app expecting a package. It was Alana. And Skylar. Sitting in a car across the street. Parked, not in the driveway. Not even bold enough to come up yet. Arguing. Eventually, they walked to my neighbor's house by mistake, then circled back to mine, stood at the end of the driveway like kids debating whether to ring the doorbell or rob the place. I told Elise. She saw the feed. Her face went flat, quiet. She didn't panic. Didn't freak out. Just said, "Don't let them inside." I didn't. I met them at the front door. Didn't open the storm door. Still had my gloves on, still smelled like gutter. Alana started the pitch immediately. Rambling. Rent was due. She was short. Just needed a bridge. Skylar was trying to take classes, but financial aid didn't cover books. She wasn't asking for handouts, just help from someone who used to be family. I let her talk. Let Skylar look everywhere but at me. She was thinner now. Pale. Hair messy like she hadn't figured out how to stop spiraling. Whatever story they told themselves about how this would go, it wasn't going that way. I didn't interrupt. Until she said, "The college fund." Skylar's voice cracked. "You always said it was mine," she whispered. "No," I said. "I said it was for your education. You made sure that ended at 16. I pulled out a printed sheet I'd prepped months earlier. A list of resources, food banks, housing programs, community college scholarships, job training programs. Offered it through the crack in the storm door. Alana looked at it like I'd handed her a coupon for dignity. "We don't need charity," she snapped. "We need family." I pulled out the second sheet. The one they hadn't seen yet. Restraining order paperwork. Their names already filled in. The warning letter had been sent months ago, certified mail, return receipt. They'd signed for it. This was just the next step. "If you contact me again," I said. "My attorney files this Monday." Alana's face cracked first. Rage and embarrassment caught in her throat. But Skylar, she was crying. Real tears this time. "You moved on," she said, choking on it. "You have a new family now." "Yes," I said. "One that never tried to destroy me." And then I said the quiet truth, the thing that had haunted me more than any lie. "All you had to do was take the grounding. 2 weeks. No phone. That was the whole punishment. Instead, you accused me of a felony. You were willing to ruin my life just to avoid being embarrassed." Neither said a word. I told them to leave. Told them the doorbell camera had recorded the whole visit. Watched them walk back to their car in silence. Skylar stumbled on the porch steps. Alana caught her by the arm, the same way Tate had 2 years ago. Poetic, in a sick way. They drove off. I didn't watch them turn the corner. I just turned back to the gutters. And kept cleaning. 3 days later, Brennan, my lawyer, called. Alana had filed a motion with the court. She was representing herself this time. No attorney. Couldn't afford one. She was requesting a modification of the divorce settlement, claiming financial hardship. Changed circumstances. And that the original division was unfair given her current economic instability. Translation? She was broke. She thought that entitled her to a second bite of the apple. "Fight it or settle?" Brennan asked. "Fight it." He filed our response the next morning, attached the original court ruling, cited the false police report, the protective order, The loss of job due to her own actions, and included the now infamous footage, yes, again. By now it was basically our mascot. Judge denied her motion 6 weeks later. Swift and brutal. His ruling cited the false accusation as the originating cause of the financial breakdown, pointed to the signed retraction by Schuyler, the documented defamation, and the termination from her job as self-generated hardship. She appealed. Because of course she did. 4 months later, the appellate court denied that too. Case closed. Permanently. No more motions. No more hearings. No second chances. The house was mine. The fund was reassigned. The protection order stayed in effect. And for the first time in 2 years, my name was no longer attached to a court docket. The silence afterward was weird. Too quiet. Like when the fridge stops humming and you only notice because you can finally hear yourself think. Elise went into labor the following month. 12 hours, 2 nurses, 1 panicked Uber ride to the hospital because I couldn't find my keys. He was born just after 3 a.m. We named him Oliver James Grant. She gave in on the first name, I gave in on the middle. Fair trade. He came into the world pink-faced and loud, with 10 fingers, 10 toes, and no idea how close I'd come to missing all of it. That night, I sat in the hospital chair, watching him sleep, Elise dozing next to me, and I thought about Schuyler. About how she'd never see this version of me. About how the last memory she had was me, standing behind a deputy, watching her get evicted from a house she once called home. And I didn't feel guilt. I felt relief. Because I'd built a wall high enough to keep her out, and strong enough to protect what mattered. And that's when I knew the war was over. 2 months after Oliver was born, I got a letter. Not a text. Not an email. A literal letter. Handwritten, shaky cursive, postmarked from a town about 90 minutes north. No return address. It was from Schuyler. I almost threw it away unopened. But I didn't. I stood in the garage, held it for a full minute, then opened it with my pocket knife. It wasn't long. Just 2 pages. She didn't ask for money. She didn't beg to come back. She didn't try to justify what she'd done. She said she was sorry. Not the, oops, my bad, kind. Not a script. It felt real. Too late but real. She wrote about how she'd been in therapy. Said the recantation was the start, but the guilt never stopped. How every scholarship rejection, every awkward silence at work, every time someone Googled her name, she thought about that day in the basement. About the look on my face. About the second I realized what she was about to do. And she admitted what none of her lawyers ever had. That she knew deep down I hadn't hurt her. That the bruises weren't from me. That the lie was never about danger. It was about control. She said she didn't expect forgiveness. That she didn't even know if sending this letter was selfish. She just wanted me to know that I didn't deserve what she did. That I had been a good dad. The best, actually. I sat down on the garage steps and reread it twice. Then I folded it back up and slid it into a box I kept in the closet. The one labeled documentation. I never wrote her back. Some things get forgiven. Some things just get filed away. Elise knew about the letter. She didn't ask to read it, just held my hand while I stared at the wall that night. Oliver was sleeping in the bassinet. She looked over at him and said, "He's never going to doubt who's on his side." And I knew she was right. I wasn't going to raise a kid by accident this time. I wasn't going to fight for a place in my own home. I wasn't going to explain myself to anyone who didn't start from trust. Schuyler's apology didn't undo anything. But it did one thing. It proved she finally knew what she'd done. And sometimes, that's all the closure you get. The first time I took Oliver to the park, I had a little moment. You know the kind. Nothing dramatic. No fireworks. Just a dad, a stroller, a coffee, and a spring breeze that smelled like grass and sunscreen. We were standing near the swings. He wasn't old enough for them yet, barely sitting up on his own, but Elise said the fresh air was good for him. So there we were. Watching. And then I heard it. A voice behind me. Too familiar. "Hey, Mason." I turned. It was Dave. Former best friend. Ghosted me the day after Schuyler's accusation hit social media. His wife Hazel had suggested some space. He'd taken that suggestion and sprinted. He looked older. Less sure. Like maybe the guilt had aged him quicker than the calendar. We stood there for a second, both unsure if we were about to shake hands or throw them. He nodded toward the stroller. That him? Yeah. That's Oliver. He's cute, Dave said. Looks like you. I didn't respond. Just waited. I should have called, he said. Back then. I should have reached out. I didn't know what to believe. I gave you 10 years of reasons, I said. You picked a rumor. He flinched. Yeah. I know. We stood in silence. Then he said something I didn't expect. Hazel left. About 6 months ago. Skylar's story, it messed with her. She started wondering what kind of people we were. That we assumed the worst. That we didn't even ask you what happened. He looked at the stroller again. I lost my marriage trying to stay neutral. Turns out neutral isn't neutral when someone's being crucified. I took a sip of coffee. Why tell me this now? He shrugged. You're a dad. I figured, maybe you'd want to know who your kid should never trust. I didn't reply. Eventually, he patted my shoulder, awkward, like he wasn't sure if I'd shrug it off. Then he walked off, hands in his pockets. I looked down at Oliver. He was staring up at the clouds, hands twitching like he was trying to catch the light. I knelt down next to him. You're gonna grow up knowing who your people are, I said. And who they aren't. He babbled something back, pure baby nonsense. But it sounded like agreement. 6 months later, Skylar showed up again. Not at my house. Not unannounced. Not crying on my porch like before. This time it was Elise who told me. She was picking up Oliver from the pediatrician's office when she spotted her across the waiting room, Skylar, sitting alone, looking small, wearing scrubs and reading a child development textbook with a highlighter jammed between the pages. They didn't speak. Elise didn't need to. She just watched her for a second, then came home and told me. She's working at the clinic, she said. Nurse tech program, probably. Looked like she was studying between shifts. I nodded slowly. Said nothing. Just kept peeling vegetables for dinner. She looked different, Elise added. Older. Tired. Maybe humbled. We didn't talk about it more that night. Didn't need to. But later, after Oliver fell asleep, I pulled out the recantation. The signed, notarized, 3-page document sitting in the fireproof box with our passports and birth certificates. It wasn't for nostalgia. It was a reminder. That I wasn't crazy. That I hadn't imagined the chaos, the betrayal, the way Skylar and Alana tried to rewrite me as a monster because I caught them breaking rules they never thought would apply. That paper wasn't revenge. It was survival. And now, 2 years out, I didn't need to hate her anymore. I didn't need to feel anything, really. Skylar was just a chapter. A loud, painful, scorched earth chapter. But not the ending. Elise watched me put the document back in the box. You okay? She asked. I nodded. She's not ours to worry about anymore. She leaned her head on my shoulder. She never was, Elise whispered. And for the first time in a long, long time, I believed that. Fall came fast. Oliver was turning 1 soon, walking like a drunk raccoon, yelling nonsense at the cat, pulling dish towels off the oven handle like it was his life's work. Elise was thriving. Work, baby, house, all humming like she'd been preparing for this her whole life. And me? I was rebuilding. Not in the Hollywood sense. No big redemption arc, no revenge mansion, no TED Talk. Just slow, boring healing. New job. Smaller company. Better culture. People who didn't flinch when I walked in the break room. I wasn't chasing titles anymore. I was chasing peace. Still had cameras inside the house, but the paranoia had faded. Now they were just cameras. Not lifelines. Then, in late October, Brennan called again. I ran into something interesting, he said. I braced myself. You don't survive 2 years of courtroom trauma without assuming every surprise is a grenade. Alana applied for a job at a firm one of my clients runs. HR flagged her. Background check came up clean, no charges stuck, remember, but her name pulled some interesting civil documentation. He was smiling. I could hear it. They found the recantation, he said. The defamation lawsuit. The failed modification request. The appeal. All public record. They didn't call her back. I let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. It was working. Not revenge. Not pettiness. Just accountability. Written. Filed. Stamped. Permanent. That's what Brennan meant from the beginning. We didn't have to destroy them. We just had to outlast them, and let the record speak. I told Elise that night while we were folding laundry. She kissed the top of my head and said, "That's your legacy." I looked over at Oliver, sitting in a laundry basket, chewing on a sock like it owed him money. "No," I said. "That's mine." And I meant it. Because I was done looking backward. A letter came in November. From Alana. Typed this time. Formal. Like something a lawyer might write, except there was no letterhead, no signature block, just her name at the bottom in awkward, pixelated font like she didn't know how to adjust margins. She wasn't asking for money. She was asking for access. Specifically to Skylar's records. Apparently Skylar had applied to a health sciences program that flagged her school file, the one that included the athletic suspension, the character concerns, and the official documentation of the recantation filed by the school district after our civil case. Alana wanted me to withdraw the record. To correct the misunderstanding. To support a young woman trying to rebuild her life. I read it twice. Then I left it on the counter and went to change Oliver's diaper. By the time I came back, Elise had read it. She didn't say much. Just, "She thinks this is your burden to clean up." I didn't respond. Just picked up the letter, opened the safe, and filed it with the rest of them. Every court document. Every email. Every motion. Every lie and every walk back. I didn't reply to Alana. There's nothing left to say to someone who watched their daughter commit perjury, and responded by doubling down. But I thought about Skylar. Not as the girl who tried to ruin me. As the girl who would now live in a world shaped by her own actions. Where character flags didn't disappear just because you were sorry in private. Where consequences didn't vanish because you typed a nice letter on a Tuesday. She had a shot now. A job. A school. A second chance. But I wasn't going to erase the truth to help her get it. Oliver was crawling across the floor in his onesie, trying to eat a sock again. I picked him up, held him close, and whispered in his ear something I hadn't said out loud until then. "You will never have to wonder if I'm on your side." And I meant it. Oliver took his first steps in the hallway, right between the pantry and the front door. I was coming back from the garage with a screwdriver in one hand and a bottle of water in the other when I saw him wobbling, arms out like he was negotiating a hostage release with gravity. 3 shaky steps. Then a 4th. He face-planted on the 5th, of course, but still. Steps. Elise screamed like we'd won the lottery. I dropped everything and scooped him up. He looked proud. Confused but proud. Like, was that walking? Did I just unlock something? We filmed the next round. Sent it to both sets of grandparents. Elise cried. I just laughed. Later that night, once Oliver was asleep, I sat outside on the deck with a beer, watching the quiet. Same house. New life. Same man. But rebuilt from scratch. I didn't think about the basement, or the camera, or Skylar's face when she realized the footage hadn't been deleted. I didn't even think about Alana's voice yelling into her phone as the sheriff packed her out of my home. I thought about Oliver's hands. Reaching forward. Trusting the floor wouldn't vanish under him. And how that used to be me. The morning Oliver turned 1, I made pancakes shaped like animals. Badly. Elise clapped anyway, called them creative. He threw most of his on the floor and smeared the rest in his hair like it was war paint. Perfect. After breakfast I opened the safe. Took out the box labeled records. I added one more thing, a photo of Oliver holding my finger on the day he was born. Slipped it on top of the court documents, the retraction, the police reports. Not to bury the past. To crown it. This kid, he's the full stop at the end of a sentence written in blood, silence, and hard choices. Skylar never wrote again. Alana never filed another motion. They disappeared from our lives exactly how they'd earned it, permanently. Elise came outside holding Oliver on her hip. He pointed at the sky and said something that sounded like blue. Might have just been baby babble. Might have been a beginning. We stood there for a while. No noise. No lawyers. No accusations. Just peace. Earn peace. And that's the whole story.